ברוכים הנמצאים. I've been invited many times to speak here in Great Neck to B'nai v'Tekonen, but this is the first time that I'm privileged to address Nashim Tzadkaniyot, the righteous woman of your great community. This gives me great hope that Baruch Hashem there is great future for this kahal. When I look around the room and I see Nashim Tzinuot, modest woman that understands what does it mean, a covering of the hair, woman that understands the importance of Torah education and furthering your knowledge. This reminds me why HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to the woman first, before he gave the Torah. His first meeting was with the Bet Yaakov, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu understands that if he could sell the woman and they accept, then it's easy street. The women are the key. David HaMelech said, Ani avdecha ben amatecha. David HaMelech said, I am your servant, the son of your maidservant. David HaMelech gave all his credit to his mother. And all of you know that David's father was Yishai. Yishai left this world without sin. But still, he says, it was my mother. Ani avdecha ben amatecha. So it's a breath of fresh air that Baruch Hashem, your community has a good foundation. I hope this will not be the last time that I'm invited to speak to this group, because I hold it in very high regard. Although you could imagine my schedule, and this is no reason for me to tell you this, just so I can get it off my chest so I feel a little better, that my schedule is very taxing, especially on Tuesdays, and for me this hour is very late to give a derash. But because of the attendees, you that are here tonight, I did make a special extra effort to, Be'ezrat Hashem, fulfill my responsibility. ויהי נועם אדוני אלוהינו עלינו ומעשה ידינו קורנה עלינו ומעשה ידינו קורנהו לעשות נחת רוח ליוסרנו. There is a pasuk that we read in this week's parashah. I'm going to explain it to you simply first, and then Be'ezrat Hashem explain it on a higher level. The pasuk says, V'ish et kadashav lo yihye et asher titen lakohen lo tihye. There's a concept in the olden days that if you were a kohen, you received 24 gifts, entitlements. They call this the Chad Daled Matanot Kehuna. Chad Matanot Kehuna. For example, some of you ladies make challah. You take a little piece off. Today you burn it. In the olden days they would give it to the kohen. This was his gift. He would collect from all the neighbors. He would make his own challah. We give the kohen terumah. That's 2% of the wheat. We give the kohen pidyon aben. Maybe you ever went to a pidyon. He gets 5 coins. These are the different gifts. So the Torah says, "Ve'ish et kadashav Lo yehiyeh. Lo is with a vav, lamed vav. A person who has kodesh things, which is the property of the Kohen, it's his. Lo yehiyeh. It belongs to him. And what you give to the Kohen belongs to the Kohen. What's yours is yours, but the Kohen's are the Kohen's. And the Gemara says, what are you talking about? You cannot keep the Kohen's items. What does it mean, lo yehiyeh? You have to give it to the Kohen, it doesn't belong to you. So the Gemara says, yes, there's a certain right that's yours. And that's the right to decide who you want to give it to. The Kohen cannot demand, I want the halal. You say, I want to give it to who I want to give it to. Even my next door neighbor I want to give it to. I want to give it to my friend across the street. That belongs to you. To decide who you want to divvy it out to. V'ish et kadashav lo yihiyu. Once you give it to the Kohen, it's his, no backsies. You cannot say, oh, I changed my mind. But until you give it to the Kohen, you have the privilege to decide. The Gemara calls that tovat hana'ah. So that part belongs to you. The decision on who you want to give it to whom you want to dispense it to. But the Hafetz Chaim has a novel interpretation on this pasuk. V'ish et kadashav lo yihiyu. But you need an introduction to understand his answer. There is a big question, which might be the most important question of life. And that question is, what is our purpose here in this world? Why are we here? It's a little philosophical. But guess what? If you go into any company, right when you walk in on the window or on the wall, they have what's called a mission statement. The mission statement clearly gives everybody who works for that company a direction. So they know what the purpose, what the goal is, what the objective is. Don't you think it's a fair question to know, why are we here? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create such an elaborate world? And He put us at the center of this world? Why? Most people don't even think of this question. They never ponder it. They just come into this world, they go to work, they make money, they buy food, they eat, they go to sleep, they go to work, they make money, they eat, they go to sleep, and they look forward to the 2-week vacation of the year. And after the 2-week vacation is over, they go to eat, and they go to sleep, and they go to work, and this becomes the vicious cycle of life, and then eventually they expire, and that was life to them. And they never pondered, could it be that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants something more than that? Could God have created such a sophisticated world for such a mundane purpose? To work, to eat, to sleep to work. Such a pedestrian, ordinary reason? Is there something maybe more deeper? The good news is, there's a sefer. I'm going to recommend it to you. I'm going to more than recommend it. I'm going to advise you that it should be mandatory reading for this group. And that is called Mesilat Yesharim. The Path of the Just. Mesilat Yesharim. It was written by a great Sephardi Rabbi called Rabbi Moshe Chaim Lutzato. This is a classic. I was lucky to study this Sefer Mesilat Yesharim with a great tzaddik in Yerushalayim. On the front, the first chapter, the first line, he asks this question. He says, Yesod HaChasidut v'shoresh ha'avodah ha'temimah hu she'yitbared v'yit'amed etzed ha'adam ma chovato be'olamo. Oh, that's the question. He says the first purpose and fundamental question that you must ask yourself is, what is my responsibility in this world? What is the objective? Lehavdir, if a person is playing a board game, the first thing he wants to know, what's the objective? What do we have to do? How do you win? Don't you think it's worthy to ask on life, which is more important than a board game? How do you win? How do you succeed? Ma huvato be'olamo. The better news is, he gives us the answer in the next line. You see, if he didn't give us the answer, it might take us 50 years to figure it out. And if you're planning on living to 100, that means half your life you spent on trying to figure out the purpose of life, which only leaves you the second half to employ it. The good news is the Mesilat Yesharim just saved you 50 years, because he gives you the answer in the next line. How does he know the answer? Well, he says through experience, from his own experience, he figured it out. So he said, why should you waste your time on something that I already figured out myself? He compares it to a labyrinth. You know what a labyrinth is? A labyrinth is a maze that the kings used to play in their courtyards. It's made of bushes. And they would walk in and they would just walk around and they have to find the exit. It's like an elaborate maze. They call it a labyrinth. So the Mesilat Yesharim says there's two ways to navigate the labyrinth. One is by trial and error. You go, dead end, go back, make a left, make a right. But then there's an easier way. If you have somebody that's standing on top of the labyrinth, that has an aerial view, that sees it from above, he can advise you, no, don't go there. There's a dead end. Make a right, make a left. So you have eyes above. The Mesilat Yesharim says that he already has a bird's eye view of life. So therefore he can advise us which way to go without making any wrong turns. We're lucky. When I learned this Sefer Mesilat Yesharim with a great rabbi, his name is Rav Chaim Brim, Zecher Tzaddik v'Kadosh Tevachai, he's a tzaddik of Yerushalayim. Every time we would finish learning the Sefer, he would end with the same line. He would say, boys, we used to learn on Thursday nights, very late at night. And then maybe 1 o'clock in the morning when we closed the book, he would say, boys, tomorrow morning you're going to pray the Amidah. And you're going to get to Modim. And you're going to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for so many things in life. You have to have in mind, thank you Hashem for sending us Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto and giving us this book called Mesilat Yesharim, so we're able to know how to navigate life. And he meant it. And for those times we did it. You know what he says the answer is? The answer, the goal of life is L't'aneg al Hashem. To derive the ultimate pleasure with God. This place where we derive ultimate pleasure with God is not here. It's in another world called Olam Haba. Maybe you want to call it Gan Eden. That means the goal of life is to get to this place where we have an attachment to God, and he says it's the ultimate utopia. There's no other enjoyment like this. This is the pleasure of pleasures. You see, there's a misconception. In the secular world, they think the religious people, they're depriving themselves of the pleasures of life. Little do they know that our purpose of life is to get to the ultimate pleasure. All these other pleasures in this world pale in comparison to this pleasure that one will have in this place called Gan Eden when he attaches himself to the eternal God. It's better than any restaurant or any party or any substance or chemical. But the only way to get to this pleasure is through this world. Why? Because you need an entrance. You need an admission. Just like if you go to a carnival. They have deal, you need tokens. You need tickets. The tickets and the admission and the legal tender that they have in Olam Haba, the currency, is mitzvot. And there's your answer. This world is a vestibule, which would be a corridor, to get you from point A to point B. And the reason why you have to go through this corridor is because in this corridor, in this hallway, there's mitzvot. And you need to collect the mitzvot, and you pay it at the door of Olam Haba, which is like a redemption. You redeem your tickets, and then they bring you to a place where you have eternal pleasure with God. Anything else besides this is a diversion. If you're not involved in this direction, you are lost. You are off track. You're in no man's land. Now, I'm glad to tell you, this is very easily understood by me. You don't need to be Aristotle to understand this, or Socrates, or Plato. This is very logical. It's not some philosophy that nobody knows what he means. He explains it very simple. The goal is to get from here to Olam Haba, and the only place to get to Olam Haba, you need to come through this world first, to pick up mitzvot, because this is the only world you can do mitzvot. In the next world, mitzvot are not available. When the Gaon of Vilna was on his deathbed, he cried. They said, Rabbi, why are you crying? He said, for 5 coins, I could buy a pair of sisit, and the sisit will gain me eternity. But once I get to eternity, even for 5 million coins, I cannot do any mitzvot. So this is the world of action. In Zohar, it's called Olam Asiyah, the world of deeds. The next worlds are called Biriyah, Yesirah, Atzilut. Those are higher level spiritual worlds. But the only place to collect these mitzvot is Olam Hazeh, Olam Asiyah. It's as simple as that. He didn't say go to work, he didn't talk about eating, he didn't talk about vacations, he didn't talk about shopping. Now I am a little shocked why this is not being broadcasted on every newscast. Why are they talking about this? Every 5 minutes on the news just to say special alert, Rabotai, don't forget the goal. Don't forget why you're here. How come we're not being reminded every day in the newspaper? There should be a big advertisement telling us the purpose of life. Why do we have to come on a Tuesday night at 9:30 in a basement somewhere in Great Neck to reveal the secret to the world? Why shouldn't it be broadcasted on the mountain? I know maybe you didn't do this and I don't expect you, but if you ever went to a stadium, 50, 60,000 people come to a stadium. It's not so easy to gather 50,000 people for any event. And they come to a baseball game. Now you expect 50,000 people, there must be a message. Somebody's probably going to give them the secret of life. Why else would all these people come together? And then they begin the event with the singing of the national anthem. So you say, oh, this is an important event. Why else would everybody have to stand at attention, take off their caps for a few seconds, say the Pledge of Allegiance, say the Star Spangled Banner? This is a hallowed event. And then after this national anthem is sung, one of the speakers gets up on the middle of the baseball diamond and he explains the purpose of life in 2 words. When he screams out to the entire audience, play ball! And that's what life is. Play ball! That's what we came here, to play ball. And then there's one more speech where they answer him from the audience, hot dogs! And this becomes life. Play ball, hot dogs, beer here. And this is the tachlit. Could you believe it? And this is what the people think they came here for. To entertain themselves, to eat hot dogs, to get drunk, to pleasure themselves. Wow, you would expect somebody to get up at such an event and say, Rabotai, ma chovato be'olamo, le'taneg al Hashem, something where the people say, wow, an eye-opener. But the reason why we don't hear it that often is because this world is called Alma de Shekra. It's the world of Sheker. Sheker is not just a word. Sheker is an energy. Sheker is it's a creation. It's a being. There is a force in the world called Sheker. Deceit, lie, falsehood. And this force wants to keep us from this truth. Therefore, this world will cover up this concept from as many people as it can, because it doesn't want you to know this reality. You'll open the newspapers, they'll talk about one-day sales, and shopping, and purchasing, and consumption, all physical diversions. The wisest of all men, don't take it from me, the wisest of all men was Shlomo HaMelech. He said it best in the first pasuk of Kohelet. When he offered his opinion on this world, he said, Havel havalim amar Kohelet, Havel havalim akol havel. He said the same word 7 times. Havel, havalim, havel. What is Havel, havalim? The world is vanity, is frivolous, it's a waste. Havel, like the haval that comes out of your mouth. It's air, it's hot air, it's worthless. We have to assume that the wisest of all men, he knew what he was saying. And then at the end of that book of Kohelet, he says, Sof davar. Sof davar is the way we would say in the modern vernacular, bottom line. This is Shlomo made up that saying, bottom line. He says, Sof davar, tachlit, purpose, hakol nishma, et ha'eluhim yira, ve'et mitzvotav shemot, ki ze kol ha'adam. Very simple. Fear of God, keep the mitzvot, because that's what everything is all about. That's what man is all about. Everything else is a waste of time. The good news is, there's nothing more productive than you could be doing in this world right now, as much as what you're doing. You shouldn't say to yourself, well, I could have been doing. No, you're doing it. This is why Hashem brought you to this world, to do Torah and Mitzvot. Now we're doing Torah and Mitzvot. So you are not only on the path, you're on the bullseye. At these moments when we're in Shi'urim, you're fulfilling the purpose to the highest degree. When we leave, it's another story. But at these moments, you cannot be more on target. What goes on outside, I cannot say if everybody in the street is getting closer to their destination. But as we sit here in Shi'urei Torah, we are certainly going to the destination and collecting the proper mitzvot. I want to tell you what the Zohar Kadosh says. And I'm kind of amazed that even the kids in the yeshiva are learning Zohar Kadosh today. My son in the yeshiva yesterday in the 2nd grade, they gave him, or the 1st grade, they gave him a chumash for the first time. So my wife went to the production that they make. She brought home a video of it. I spent a few minutes watching it to see exactly what it looks like. And I was amazed. Little kids over there singing a song. I forgot the tune, but I'll tell you the words. The song is Yisrael Kudsha Berichu Ve'olaita Hadhu. I said, my gosh, that's a Zohar Kadosh. The kids are singing Zohar in 1st grade. How amazing is that? What does it mean, the Zohar? The Zohar says that there's three entities. There's Israel, which is us. There's Kucha Berichu, there's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then there's Oraita. Oraita is the Torah. How do these three entities interlock with each other? If you think about it, we are so human and God is so divine. How in the world are we able to connect? It's a bad marriage. We don't have anything in common. We are so physical and God is so spiritual. There must be something that can link us together. So the Zohar Kadosh says that's the Torah. The Torah is that buffer. The mitzvot are that linkage that connects us to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not necessarily in this world only, but in Olam Haba. If you come with mitzvot, that's already like a pipe. It's a buffer. Where now we're able to connect to this great God. Now I'm going to tell you something a little deep. But girls of your stature should be used to hearing things on a higher level. How do you spell HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name? Yud Ke Vav Ke. The last letters of Hashem's name is Vav He. How do you spell mitzvah? Mem Tzadi. Vav He. Interesting. The last two letters of mitzvah and the last two letters of Yud Ke Vav Ke are the same. Vav He, Vav He. Wouldn't it be nice if we could make from the Mem Tzadi into a Yud He? Then really it would prove the Zohar that every mitzvah really is a linkage to Yud Ke Vav Ke. And I'm going to do it for you tonight. Tonight's your lucky night. In the Hebrew alphabet, sometimes you read the alphabet forward, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet. Sometimes you read it backwards, Tav, Shin, Resh, Kuf, etc. There's another system or formula that's called Atbash. Are you familiar with Atbash? Good. I'll explain it to you. It's very simple. In the Atbash system, you take the first letter of the alphabet and you exchange it with the last letter of the alphabet. Aleph, Taf. Bet, Shin. Gimel, Resh. At, Bash, Gar, Dak. Dalet goes to the Kuf. The He goes to the Tzadi. The Vav goes to the Peh. And so on and so forth. The Zayin goes to the Ayin. And the Chet goes to the Samech. And the Tet goes to the Nun. And the Yud goes to the Mem. At, Bash, Gar, Dak, Hat, Vav, Zah, etc., etc. You got the point. In the system of Atbash, the Mem corresponds to Yud. And the Tzadi corresponds to a He. So in truth, mitzvah is really Yud Ke Vav Ke. But we cannot call it Yud Ke Vav Ke because then we won't be able to say it. So they just switched the first letters in a different formula, but they meant to call a mitzvah Yud Ke Vav Ke because there's no difference between a mitzvah or Yud Ke Vav Ke. Kuchaberichu ve'oraita hadu. It's all one. So you do a mitzvah, you connect it to Hashem. And this is the way we make the vikut. But in Olam HaSheker, in the world of falsehood, this force called Sheker tries to rob our souls from this connection. By keeping you so busy on your phones and on your computers and surfing and playing games, all waste of time. Chatting, these are all diversions. That's Olam HaSheker. Sheker is spelled Shin Kof Resh. I'm going to teach you now a new system called the system of Milui. You know how Milui works? Those are the fill-in letters. How do you spell the letter Sheen? Sheen, Yud, Nun. Sheen. You see, the Yud and the Nun are called the Milui letters. They're the fill-in letters. In Zohar, they talk about this a lot. That when you look at a letter, you have to look at the original letter, and then it's fill-in letters. Let's see if you understood what I said. What's the Milui of the letter Kof? Excellent. And then you have Resh. Resh is Resh, Yud, Shin. Resh. So basically we took a 3-letter word and we turned it into 9 letters. But these 9 letters are very important because usually the fill-in letters tell us the essence. That's the inside. It gives us the essence and the true definition of the word. And I told you already, Sheker, this force, robs us from our soul. We call the soul Nefesh. Isn't it interesting? Sheen, the last letter of Sheen is what? Nun. The last letter of Kof is Peh, and the last letter of Resh, that spells Nefesh. Because the power of Sheker robs the Nefesh from us. It's like holding our souls in captivity. It doesn't want us to go to Olam Haba. So it keeps us diverted with all gadgets and stuff and things. And once already we're not involved in the purpose, we're not doing mitzvot. Once we don't do mitzvot, we're not connected to God. So the sheker robs God from us. What's the second letter in Shin? Yud. And the second letter in Kof? Vav. And the second letter in Resh? Yud. That's Yud. Vav Yud, which is 10, 6 and 10, which is 26. 26 is God's name. Yud Ke Vav Ke equals 26. The sheker robs us from our connection with God as well. The next word is called Olam HaEmet, because that's the world of truth. There it's clear. Once we get to Olam Haba, then we see clearly the game. But here it's vague to us. The Gemara says an analogy. I want to tell you this analogy tonight. Mi shetarach be'erev Shabbat, yochal be'Shabbat. You ladies know this more than even the men. If we want to eat on Shabbat, the work must be done on Friday. If we do not prepare on Friday, so it's clear we cannot cook on Shabbat. So the Gemara makes the analogy calling this world Erev Shabbat and Olam Haba is Shabbat. So they say, whoever toils in this world with mitzvot and ma'asim tovim, yuchal b'Shabbat, he'll have what to eat on Shabbat in Olam Haba. But I'm sorry to say, it's not a perfect analogy. Because in the Erev Shabbat story, if a lady or the person doesn't prepare for Shabbat, you're right, for 24 hours they go hungry. But guess what? What's Shabbat? They eat. Sunday morning they have breakfast. It's not the biggest devastation. But in the Nimsham, somebody that's delinquent in this world, they are doomed eternally. It's not like, okay, 2 weeks later they'll be okay. No, that's it. Therefore, you see today, very religious people, this is what drives us. This is what drives us. This concept that's in the front of our heads always. We have one chance. This is the only place where we're able to collect these mitzvot. And that's the goal, because the Rabbi has an aerial view of the labyrinth, and Mesilat Yesharim told it to us already, and Shlomo Melech confirmed it to us. So therefore the religious people, they are driven just to collect as many mitzvot as they can to reach this destination. There was a rabbi called Rabbi Moshe Leib Misasov. He once went on a trip. When he came back, his kids told him, like the kids tell us when we come home from a trip, "What did you get us?" So the rabbi from Sasov said, "I didn't get you anything." And the kids told him, "You went on such a far trip to such a far place and you didn't come back with anything?" The rabbi started crying. And he said, "That's what they're going to tell us. We have come down to this world, it's a very far trip. We don't come from this world, we're not natives of this world. We are all natives of the Kisei Kavod. We come from a very far place, under God's chair, and we were dispatched to come all the way down, and then after 120 years, we make the long trip back to the Kisei Kavod, and they're going to ask us, what did you bring? I didn't bring too much. You went on such a long trip, you didn't bring back anything." Or the story that is told of the shoteh of one of the cities, the fool. He came into the synagogue and he said he wants snuff tobacco. They told him, "We don't have any snuff tobacco. You have to go to the next town, it's 3 days walk." So he went for 3 days, and then he came back for 3 days. And when they said, "You were away for 6 days, what did you have? What did you bring?" And he takes out snuff tobacco, and they start laughing. 6 days, and that's all you have to show for yourself. And the rabbis would say, the distance between Kisei Kavod and this world is more than 3 days. And they're going to ask us after we come back, "What did you bring? What's in your bags? Snuff tobacco? Where's the mitzvot? Gadgets." We come with a load of junk, a load of stuff. They said, we don't have anything to do with these things here. Didn't you know the goal of life? This is the tachlit. I'm going to tell you a Gemara. It's going to sound strange to you at first, but I want to offer an interpretation. The Gemara says there was a rabbi that used to go to the weddings. His name was Rabbi Menuna. At the weddings, they used to invite him to sing a song. And the Gemara tells us the song. Again, we don't have the audio, but we have the lyrics. He would stand in the middle of the dance floor, and he would say, "Vai land mitnan, vai land mitnan. Woe, we're going to die. Woe, we're going to die." Now, this would not be my first selection for a wedding. This is a song for a haunted mansion. Woe, we're going to die. Unless he was telling the Hatan something now that he's married. But what did he mean? What kind of song is that for a wedding? It's such a anticlimactic song. You spoiled the whole moment. And then there was a chorus. The chorus is not so bad. The chorus was something like, "But thank God for the Torah and the Mitzvot that we have that protects us." And then he would say back, "Vailan de Betan, hey, the Torah and Mitzvot de Magne Alan." And this is the way they went back and forth. And I'm going to explain it like this. This was actually the happiest song. There's no happier jingle than the song Vailan de Mitnan, Vailan de Mitnan. It is not depressing at all. This is the most peppiest, uplifting, inspirational song. I'll tell you why. This happens to many women. Maybe it happened to you. I've seen it happen to people. When they go to the supermarket and they forget why they came to the supermarket. and you see a woman standing in the aisle aimlessly, and she's looking at 1,000,001 products, and she's thinking, why did I come here for? What did I come here for? What did I need? And she has no clue. There is no greater depressing feeling than this, to be somewhere and not know why you're there, and to not know your purpose, and to not know what your goal is. This is a very sad moment of life. And then all of a sudden, for no given reason, it comes to you. Applesauce. And then there's a bright smile. Because now you know why you're here. Now, if that feeling happens to you in a supermarket, certainly this feeling must happen in life, where a person is just walking in the street and then says, why am I here? What am I doing here? Now you see, if you don't come home with applesauce, it's not so devastating. You'll live. But if a person comes to this world and doesn't know why they're here, so then the consequences are very dire. So the rabbi at the wedding would remind everybody of what they came to this world for. So they'd say, we're going to die. So they would shake them a little. We're going to go die. Well, if we're going to die then, so why did Hashem bring us here? Must be to do Torah Mitzvot. This is worthy to dance. This is worthy to sing. Thank you, Rabbi, for reminding us. What are we doing here? Because we forgot. With the Tiridot Hazman, with the busyness of schedule, and all the obligations that we have, sometimes we forget what the goal is. So the Rabbi would come to the wedding and say, I'm going to make you happy. I'm going to put you back on track. I'm going to remind you of why you came to the supermarket. Torah Mitzvot, this was worthy. Then they would start dancing and singing. There's no greater song than that. And therefore a speech like this tonight is, to me, motivational. It's not depression. It's not sad. Oh, the Rabbi is talking about tachlit. This is, to me, the greatest impetus to do good things. Tomorrow morning, I want to wake up extra early now. Now I'm motivated. I have a goal. I was taught what my instructions are, what my calling is, what my motive should be. This is fantastic. I've been given a map. Somebody gave me a map with instructions of life. It's not depressing at all. It's quite contrary. It's very, very, very happy. One of the rabbis said that that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes white hairs. Today nobody has white hair anymore. You have to go far away to find white hairs. But there was a concept of white hairs. And the rabbi said that the white hair is a summons. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu is summoning the person, hey, you're getting older. Start packing the picnic basket with mitzvot. We have a meeting soon. You're not going to live forever. Your hair is changing colors. This is like an alarm clock. It's a great reminder. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, every morning when a person looks in the mirror, he sees he's aging. This is to remind the person, get back on track. How upsetting is it that exactly the opposite happens? We see people, as they get older, they become less productive. Although their mind is there and they have their abilities, they just spend the days turning over cards and picking up cards and turning over cards and moving checkers and rolling dice, just to pass the time away. As if this becomes the purpose now. To get to the game and to just wither away. I saw great tzaddikim well into their 90s. For example, I had the privilege to see Rav Shach, alav shalom, when he was well into his 90s, and he was giving a shiur in the Panovich Yeshiva. This was a sight I'll never forget. All the boys were in there. He's an old rabbi, short. He's standing in the front of a lecture like this, a lectern, and he has a Gemara there. I climbed up and looked to the window to see it. And he's pounding on the teba, and he's trying to explain the Gemara to the students, and they're firing back at him. No, that's not the explanation. And the rabbi says, no, you don't know what you're saying. This is the explanation. And he's drilling it into like a warrior, like a lion that's fending off all the enemies. And he's banging with all his might. And you say, wow. The older he gets, the more focused he is, not wasting his life away sitting on a park bench, listening to a transistor radio. He's engaged in the study of Torah with all the strength that he has to fulfill the pasuk. Od yinuvun besevat deshenim v'ra'ananim yiyu. The tzaddikim, even in their old age, not even, especially in the old age, where they know that the picnic basket is almost closed, they're gathering many more mitzvot before it's over. I want to say an explanation to a Mishnah. I said this explanation a few days ago in front of a great rabbi called the Novominsker rabbi, and he confirmed that this was a good explanation to the Mishnah, which made me feel very good. The Mishnah says in Pirkei Avot, Am-mafsik min-mishnato. If a person interrupts his learning, he closes the book, ve'omer, and he says, Man na'e ilan zeh. How beautiful is this tree? Man na'e nir zeh. How beautiful is this field? Mithayev benafsho. He's hayab mita. He's guilty. Guilty. Yeah, that's a shocker. What did the guy do wrong? Poor guy. He closed the book and he went outside and said, what a beautiful tree, what a beautiful field. Crime. Hayab. Many interpretations have been given. But I want to explain the Mishnah like this. We're talking about somebody from the old generations that used to be a farmer. You see, in the old days, the main career was agriculture. They lived in an agrarian society, which they all day long plowed the field, planted trees. That was the main, there was no doctors and lawyers and stockbrokers like we have today. Basically, everybody was farmers. So what happens? The person comes to the Daf Yomi class in the morning, and after he finishes learning, he has to go to work. He's allowed to go to work, you have to go to work, you have to make a living. But everybody's supposed to know it's a temporary diversion, but that's not the main part of your life, going to work. It's a necessary evil. It's something you have to do. Just like nobody's going to say going to the bathroom is the purpose of life. It's something that we have to do. Nobody's going to say this is a tachlit, this is the goal. So we have to go to work, this is what Hashem said. But of course, once work is finished, we come right back to our goal. Now even in work, we could turn it into a spiritual journey. It's for another class. This guy, he reads his Gemara in the morning, very nice. Then he's mafsik me mishnato, he closes the book, so far no problem. But guess what happens when he gets to his farm? Oh, man na'e ilan zeh. What a beautiful tree, what a beautiful field. This reaction indicates to us his priorities are skewed. Beautiful tree, beautiful field. This is what you came to this world for, to get excited? How come you didn't say what a beautiful Mishnah? How come you didn't say what a beautiful Gemara, what a beautiful Hiddush? No, the Torah didn't excite you. The Torah is the drudgery of your life. But when you get to the office, what a beautiful product. What a beautiful business. What a beautiful money. That's your attitude, that you came to this world for the tree and for the field, and the Torah is the tafel, is the secondary. Our attitude must be like that. Now don't get me wrong. Does that mean that we cannot take a vacation from time to time? Of course. Just like you're allowed to take a coffee break. But when the whole life becomes one big coffee break, where it's from one coffee to the next coffee, to the next coffee, to the next coffee. If somebody comes into the office at 9 a.m. and right away goes to the coffee machine, the boss says, "What are you doing? A coffee break. What break? You didn't do anything to deserve a break. A coffee break after you work for 4 hours. You can have 5 minutes, drink your coffee. That's acceptable. But when the whole life becomes a game, play ball, eat hot dogs, drink beer, so the whole life is just one big entertainment, one big show. From one lust, to another pleasure, to another gadget, another thing. And that's why the Torah says, Mipnei seva takum. What does that mean? We must stand in front of old people. In front of seva, in front of old age. Takum. I once heard an explanation. It's not talking about to stand in front of old people. It's talking to the individual. Mipnei seva, before you become old. Takum. Rise up. Do something, accomplish something in life. Don't wait till you're old. Or you might not be able to do these things anymore. Mipnei seva takum. You're young. You have agility. You have your strength. Do mitzvot. Collect as much as you can. This group over here, as the way I understand it, is a very focused group of young women that have this understanding. At a young age, you know something about life that many adults don't even know. You have figured out the secret. And that's what the Hafetz Chaim says on the Pasuk. V'ish et kadashav lo yehu. In America they say, you can't take it with you. And they're right to a certain degree. You cannot take your homes with you. You cannot take your wardrobe, your shoes, your jewelry. All that stuff stays behind. Like the Pasuk says, Hon ve'osher betoch beto. His treasures and his wealth remain in the house. V'tzidkato omedet la'ad. Only the good deeds, and the charity, and the chesed, and the mitzvot, they remain forever. So it's really not so accurate when they say you can't take it with you. You can take it with you. Depends what. Your Torah mitzvot, you transfer them to the next world. That is yours. Everything else doesn't belong to you. V'ish et kadashav. Only the Kodesh part of your life. Lo yehu. That is yours to keep. Everything else, it stays behind, so it's not a real acquisition. When somebody asked Rothschild, how much are you worth? And he gave them a very low figure. The king said, I know you to be 10 times as rich. Why do you say this small number? And Rothschild said, you ask me how much am I worth? I'm only worth the money I gave to charity. That's what I'm worth. All the other money, I can lose it tomorrow. The king can confiscate it. Eminent domain. What am I worth? Something that cannot be taken away from me? The tzedakot that I gave. V'ish et kadashav lo yehu. That's what you have in the bank. This class will benefit you not only tonight and tomorrow and the next day. In 1 billion years from now, you'll still be benefiting from this hour that you said. This is yours. The market can crash, gold can go up, things can go down. It doesn't affect what you did here tonight. This asset is a real asset. It's not FDIC insured. It's insured by God. This is Netzach. We involved in eternity, in foreverness. V'ishet kadashav lo yiyu. In this room we have Olam HaEmet. Outside those doors is Olam HaSheker. The Sheker that wants to rob our souls and take God away from us. And Baruch Hashem, there's a strong group of Yisrael, V'kuchaberichu ve'uraita, that are committed to this principle of life. I was very happy. The other night, I was at a stadium. As you know, the City Field event. For the first time in history, 50,000 people got together at a baseball stadium, and instead of hearing play ball and eat hot dogs, the tzaddikim all got up and they told us the purpose of life. Wow. We thought Mashiach was going to come. You couldn't believe it. It doesn't matter what language they spoke, we understood. I particularly don't understand Yiddish, but it doesn't matter, I know every word that the Rabbi was saying. He was giving us the purpose of life. And every speech had the same common denominator. And you say, oh, now I understand why 50,000 people came together to hear the Tachlit, to hear the Mesilat Yesharim being said over and the loudspeakers. We came home re-energized. How often does this group get together? Once a week or once every 2 weeks. It's very noble. I also understand that you are part of the Book of the Month Club. There's a book on modesty that some of you are learning. What is it called? Mothers of Dignity. Daughters of Dignity. We have it in our community as well. Thousands of ladies read it, studied it, made a siyum on it. I understand some of you are reading this book as well. Keep in mind, you will not find this book on the New York Times bestseller list. This confirms to me that it must be a good book. That's the biggest proof that it's a proper sefer. If they don't recognize it, because if the Olam HaSheker recognized it, I would be wary. I would be concerned. Because Sheker doesn't recognize Emet. I would advise all of you, before you read Mesilat Yesharim, because that's 26 chapters, and it's long reading. It's hard reading. You need a lot of time. I would advise you to start with this sefer that they're giving out. You should read it.
No, Hebrew is for English.
Whatever language is easier for you. I think it's in English, the book, if I'm not mistaken. By us, it's in English. The Rebbitzin has copies of this book. Rabbi Cohen's wife. Everybody should register and take a book. Don't rush through it. Read it slow. They said they're making a siyum. Because the ladies heard that the men are making siyum asha, so they also want to make siyum. It's okay. It's a good idea. I think they want to finish it in the beginning of July. But I don't know if there's enough time to finish it by July for those that are going to start now. Read it at your own pace. There's no mitzvah to make a siyum. There's a mitzvah to read it and understand it and execute it. Only after you read the book and you get the foundations of, I guess it talks about modesty, which I really don't know why you have to read a book on modesty. All of you look like you're modest people, but I guess it's a review. Maybe they'll tell you some other things. Don't underestimate the power of modesty. I will conclude with a small anecdote of a woman that came to me a few weeks ago. And she said, Rabbi, I want a sigula for parnasa and sigula to get married. I'm not a person of sigulot, really. I had in my pocket a button. I took the button, I said, this is the sigula. She wanted a rabbit's foot or a dice or some sort of amulet. I said, take this button and put it over here, or put it on the bottom of your dress. Find a suitable place for this button. This is the biggest sigula for all the berachot. You don't need kamiya, you don't need any sort of magic, voodoo. The greatest sigula for a woman is a button, is a snap, is a zipper, is a stitch. Don't underestimate what I'm saying. This is what I believe. Now I carry buttons with me on purpose to give to the people that want berachot. Take this button and add it somewhere. This will do much better than any red string that you're going to put on your wrist. Don't get me wrong. The red string is definitely a sigula for parnasa, for the one that sold it to you. He became very wealthy from this. But for the one that wears it, they only lost money by buying it. These sigulot of modesty, this is the purpose of life. Hazon Ish said, what Torah is for a boy, Siniut is for a woman. So this is part of your purpose. Yes, your life has to do with sleeves and length and covering. This is one of your goals. But Paris and Milan and New York doesn't preach this. Do we expect anything better from the world of sheker? Be careful when the world of sheker starts to promote modesty, then we have to go back to the books and see if we're doing something wrong. But you won't see it. Even when they preach a modest fashion, it's really not modest. It only lasts one season or two, and then they revert back to their natural tendency to be immodest. Hizku v'ya'ametz levavchem kol ha'yachalim leHashem. B'zchut nashim tzadkaniyot nigalu avotenu mimitzrayim. And b'zchut nashim tzadkaniyot, we're going to be redeemed from this final exile. I say to all of you, v'koveh Hashem yahalifu kawach. God should give you renewed strength. I say in the most positive way that I can. Vailan de mitnan. Be happy. We're only going to live to 120. And that should remind you of your purpose. Now you know why you came to the supermarket. Now you know why you're here. I pray that you should be able to execute and to collect as many tokens as you can to get to that final world of ultimate utopia and pleasure, like Rabbi Moshe said, "L't'aneg al Hashem," to enjoy with God. And on you I say, "Ve'atem devekim b'Adonai Elohechem, hayim kolechem hayom, amen ve'amen."